Hi, hello, and welcome back to Cricket Static Season 4 powered by Wannabe. I'm Tasmai Krishnan, the show host who brings you the most. And I've really been waiting for this. I've really been wanting to reintroduce myself in front of the camera for a long period of time. A lot of course of events that have gone through in the last few months or last few weeks for Indian cricket. And I've really been wanting to post an episode, but unfortunately, because of the flu in the air and also because of a lot of my school obligations, I wasn't able to. But I'm really happy that India won the World Cup. Couldn't be a better ending for Rahul Dravid, who throughout his career has been one of the most shadowed and underrated batsmen of his time, and he really did deserve it, didn't he? Not only because of his resilience, his lack of a trophy in his cabinet. I think he's accomplished it all now, and at the same time, his calm demeanor, which is exuded throughout a lot of turbulent phases. Like my other seasons and my other episodes, this might not be as statistical. This might not be as analytical as someone would expect it, but this is going to be more from the heart. I'm here to talk about what I feel would be the future of Indian cricket, and I had mega plans after the finals where we beat the chokers successfully, but unfortunately I fell sick right after that final and I shouted a lot, I cried a lot, and then unfortunately I wasn't able to put out a live video at 12 a.m. But here I am to talk about a new era, an era that could possibly resemble the color that I have on my sleeves here, orange, which signifies fire, because the man who's taking over that job that Rahul Dravid is leaving behind with great pride and honor is going to be Gautam Gambhir. And I called this in one of my episodes where I randomly said that, Gautam Gambhir might, I think KKR lost that match, and I saw GG walking out and just having a word with Shreyas Iyer where he went. You could just see him. He was just completely into the conversation. He's not thinking about anything else. He's not trying to reflect upon the result. He's just saying, okay, what do you think you could have done better? And Shreyas Iyer even went on to say in the post-match presentation that Gauti Bhai asked me what went wrong, and I said I have no idea, and Gauti Bhai said that's not an answer that I expect from a captain. And I think with Gautam Gambhir taking over as coach now, I think it's going to revolutionize a new era for not only Indian cricket, but probably it could even enforce a new era for a lot of nations that look at Indian cricket as a beacon of inspiration. And I say this because a lot of people associate coaching to a very pedagogical kind of a role where you just come in and you have to teach the technicalities to the batsmen, bowlers, and all those all-rounders. But I see coaching more as something that is, it's just to keep the players calm. You just got to let them know that you have the room. The reason you made it out of 1 billion people back home to play an international tour or play a home tour is because you're good. We know you're good. We're investing that much more faith in you. And Gautam Gambhir and MS Dhoni are two leaders who are extremely similar with regard to their aggression. A lot of people, completely underplay the MSD's, facets of aggression with regard to his personality. But I must say, MSD is one of the most aggressive people that I've seen on the field. And he might not show that aggression, but, it's very much displayed in his attitude. And I'd say the same for Gautam Gambhir. He really wants to win. He wants 11 men out there who he knows can go out and win the game for him. And the other 4 who are benched play an even more imperative role in this, because he knows that without these 4 people, the 11 out on the field cannot perform. And as a captain of my cricket team, I can guarantee that that is the right way forward. And with regard to what Gautam Gambhir might bring on the table, we'll be addressing that further in this video. Once again, to introduce myself, I'm Tasmai Krishnan, and I'm 14 years of age, and I am a former writer at Sportskira, and currently honing my skills as a YouTuber. I'm really glad to greet you all back onto my show Cricket Static, and it's powered by Wannabe, the world's first exclusive 360 degrees buyers only requirement listing portal, which uses its fantastic AI algorithms to make the matching and the buying process an absolute breeze. So welcome back again, and to take this episode forward, I'm going to segment it into various segments of pivotalness and importance that I feel have to be addressed, with a lot of emphasis in this episode. And the first would be the Dravid to Gambhir transition. So what does it bring upon? What is Rahul Dravid's role in Indian cricket's flourishing over the last few years? He's got a fantastic record. I've got just around 2 to 3 stats to present, not a lot. And overall, what does Gautam Gambhir's attitude bring about? So that will be the first segment. And without any further ado, I'm going to start off with it. Rahul Dravid epitomized a calm demeanor. When he was in the dressing room, there was a sense of calm. There was a lot of sense of emancipation. You knew you could go out there and be free. At the same time, there was a lot of sense of respect. Every team member out there was respecting each other. There was a lot of mutual respect. And I've never seen a team play with that much unity. And I think probably the Afghanistan Gulabuddin Naib diving team can be an exception. put forth, but I was truly fascinated by the way this Indian team has come together. They've gelled together as a unit, and I think Rahul Dravid and co, not only Rahul Dravid, Paras Mahambre, Dilip Kumar, and all those working behind the scenes have played a very, very key role in helping this side not only win a World Cup but form a side that could potentially go on to win multiple World Cups, not only because of the unparalleled degree of skill that they all possess as individuals, but also because of the unity and the team bond that has been created. But now, the more we talk about Dravid, that much more it might be a contradiction to what Gambhir brings onto the table. I think Gambhir's points were quite clear. He's here to say that if you're a horse that can play all three formats, you play all three formats. If I see you only playing ODI and Test cricket, I'm not going to play you T20 cricket. It's unreasonable of me to ask Ravindra Jadeja to play ODI Test cricket and T20 cricket, given that he's retired now. But had he not been retired, if I ask Jadeja to play T20 cricket even after the T20 World Cup, I think that's a decision that has been taken out of probably a mindfulness because, unmindfulness, because I wouldn't have played Jadeja, Kohli, Rohit even for this, for the Zimbabwe tour or anything even had they not retired. So I think Gambhir is saying, I want to form the next core. My goal is the 2027 ODI World Cup. I have the 2025 Champions Trophy in mind. There I'll use the seasoned pros. If they perform, probably 2 or 3 of them get promoted onto the 2027 scene. Probably you'll have the same leader leading the side, and I really hope it is that man Rohit Sharma. He is probably one of the nicest cricketers and probably one of the nicest human beings that I've ever come across. And I was in absolute tears just looking at that celebration where he's banging the ground because it meant that much to him losing a World Cup. So I wouldn't be surprised and if he continues to lead this team because the team really loves him. You can see how much they respect Captain Rohit Sharma. They're often pulling his leg, but I think that's the kind of respect. That's the kind of freedom that he's created and the atmosphere that he's created in the dugout. And, I'm truly happy for him as well. But to continue with my review, I think Gautam Gambhir is going to come onto the scene and say, right, boys, it was a nice run for you all, but now it's my era. It's the GG era now. So in the GG era, I think it's quite simple. Youngsters play the T20I format. 7 out of the 11 bowlers have got to bowl. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are subject to form for the 2027 World Cup. 2025 Champions Trophy could be their last run. Mohammad Shami is out of the fray. Ravindra Jadeja might not be in consideration for the 2027 World Cup. And IPL will not be taken as a yardstick for Test cricket. These are all the ideals that a coach should have. And I think Gautam Gambhir brings exactly that onto the table. But a lot of people asked, what is your take on, a 3-format player and a 1-format player? I mean, in my opinion, not Gambhir's opinion, I feel a player should play all 3 formats. A lot of people, they try to specialize themselves in one format and in the process, India is missing out on a lot. Because today when you look at someone like an Avesh Khan, someone who I have not always rated, on par with a lot of Indian greats, but I must say, Avesh Khan is able to bowl in all 3 formats. He's able to provide that cushioning for you in all 3 formats. And that is exactly why it will propel him on to the next level. Mukesh Kumar was tried in Test cricket. He's been an absolute force wrecker in Ranji Trophy for Bengal. Made it in Test cricket, made it in T20 cricket as well now. And I think, the goal would be for everyone to become India's hero of the nation, Jasprit Bumrah. Because I think the rule is simple in Gambhir's era. If you're injured, you go back to the NCA. You don't go off and you don't take off and you don't, just chill back home. You need to be recovered. You need to be in time, exactly whenever your injury timeline is scheduled for recovery, you need to be back then for me. And I think that's exactly what Gambhir brings onto the table. He's very serious. And again, coming back onto the common point between MS and GG, I think both are guys who back their players. If Ashwin said in his book launch recently, which I'm loving to read, I Have the Streets, where he goes on to say, if MSD knows, MSD will not play you as long as he knows the horse is not ready to run. But once he knows the horse is ready to run, until and unless the horse says, don't make me run anymore, he'll continue to play you. And I think Gautam Gambhir is going to bring on that kind of an ideology onto the table, where he's going to say, I see talent, I see potential, I see game, and I don't see results. No problem. I really don't care about the results. For me, what matters is going out there and giving 120%. And in the process, I think Gautam Gambhir era might be a really flourishing one for Indian cricket. And now coming on more to the what Gautam Gambhir could bring on as a coach with regard to handling the various departments, I think every department will be treated like an all-rounder department. Because even back in his day, I think when Gautam Gambhir captained a few games for India, you could see he would often hand the ball over to a part-timer. And whether it was Raina, whether it was Yuvraj was much more than a part-timer. But I think he's going to bring that onto the table. He's going to say, if you want to play in my team, you've got to have the ability to roll your arm over, or you've got to have the ability, if you're a bowler, to smack a few balls, beyond the boundary fences. So I really feel that that's a really good ideology if Gigi will be able to inculcate that. And from a little of what Shubman Gill did as captain in the Zimbabwe tour, which I ardently followed, I saw he was giving the ball to Abhishek Sharma, and I was really pleased with that because I was a little sad that the ball didn't go to Yashasvi Jaiswal's hands and Tilak Verma didn't make it to the squad. But the basic criterion for you to make it into the Indian squad right now should be you either, whether you open the batting or until and unless you're not the wicket keeper, you should be able to roll your arm over. And until and unless you're not if you're a tail ender, you should be able to come in and at least score a good 15-20 runs. And Gautam Gambhir might seem as the guy who's going to bring a lot of control, who's going to prohibit the actions and try and curtail that freedom that has been given by Rahul Dravid, Mr. Ice. But I think what Gambhir is going to bring onto the table is a sense of what you could call emancipation, but at your own risk. You can play your own game. You can do anything you want. No issues. You have optional training sessions. You can come in. You can do anything you want. But remember, if you take your spot for granted, it could very well be the end of you playing for the country. And if you believe in the a player for the three format rule, then what it does is, it kind of, I don't know how to phrase this, but it makes it look as if Gambhir is saying, I don't want one guy who comes in and plays one format. I want one guy who can sustain in all three formats, and I see it in a lot of players in this current side, right? Whether it's Yashasvi Jaiswal who's taken into account, whether it's Shubman Gill. But again, with regard to bowlers, you're limited for options. You have Jasprit Bumrah. Mohammad Shami is injured. I could very well see his end coming near, despite all that he has done for the country. I think with Gigi taking over, he'd like to get this era kicked off with a bunch of youngsters willing to wreak havoc. But this is the general perception that I have of the Gautam Gambhir era. And using my phone to get out a few stats about Rahul Dravid, I said I'll be presenting three numbers. And India won 41 out of the 56 ODIs under Rahul Dravid's tenure. And that is truly a scintillating stat there, because I must say, 41 out of 56 is a damn good record, given the fact that we did play overseas, we did play at home a few hard games, we played good teams this time in the bilaterals as well, strong sides, no one fielded their C team, and 48 out of 69 T20Is. Imagine, 48 out of the 70 T20s, that is probably the most competitive format right now going around. So I think Rahul Dravid did a great job. And this is basically what Gambhir brings onto the table. But who will he appoint as the next captain? Does he believe in a different captain for a different format? What will be his coaching staff looking like? I think it's based on a lot of rumors and speculations. But from what I can make out of Gambhir's idea for captaincy, I think Shreyas Iyer might return for the ODI format. Nothing else but because that KKR, I wouldn't say biased, because Shreyas Iyer did a very good job. A lot of people are not commending the fact that he led a team that was, was somewhat like South Africa. Last few years they've been doing well, but then they see a sudden decline. They see a dip in form. So I think, he led that team with a lot of composure, and a lot of credit has to go to Chandrakant Pandit as well. A lot of people are forgetting that Chandu Pandit's contributions to KKR's success has been immense, and I feel it really has to be addressed. So I felt Gambhir taking away all the limelight is not going to be helpful, but nevertheless, I feel it could be one of Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul prevailing in the ODI formats, while in the T20I format, I see either Hardik Pandya or Shubman Gill, or one of Shubman or Rutraj taking over. In my opinion, currently I think it should be Hardik Pandya for an interim of post of 2 to 3 years. Just play on to the next T20 World Cup 26. After 26, give it to Rutu. Let Rutu go on for 2 to 3 years. Then it goes to Gill. I think that is the kind of cycle that you'd like to cultivate. I was really surprised. I felt it was a very preposterous decision of the management to hand it over to Shubman Gill as the captain for the Zimbabwe tour. Yes, 4-1, he captained quite well, no doubts about that. But was there a better option in Rutraj Gaikwad? He won you the Asian Games. He led a side almost to the IPL qualifiers this year under a man who almost stole all the limelight away from him behind the stumps. My God, behind me, MS Dhoni. I really felt he was top notch as captain with Rutraj Gaikwad. I didn't see a single reason as to why Gaikwad or Samson weren't captaining that squad, given the fact that Sanju Samson has been having a great few years, last few years as IPL captain. So I don't know. A lot of people call it the Gill bias, but I just feel Gill getting that captaincy is just going to overburden him at this point of his career. I think he should just make those runs early on. Then probably at his purple patch age, where with the 28 to 30s, Give it to him, then let him take the back seat. He doesn't need to make a lot of runs. Then you'll have a lot of Indian talent, and I think that would be the optimal time for someone like a Shubman Gill to take over as captain. But I'm really startled by what has happened. But I don't think Gambhir is the kind who's going to give it to Ruturaj Gaikwad. I think he's seeing something in Hardik Pandya, and Hardik and Gambhir looks like a duo that will be a house on fire like Gigi's persona. So I wouldn't be surprised that will catch on like a house of fire. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gigi and Hardik Pandya form a dynamic duo as the captain and coach for T20I cricket. With regard to ODIs, I really wouldn't mind Shreyas Iyer as captain. I feel he's done a good job, and with regard to Test cricket, you've got to hand it over to Rishabh Pant, haven't you? And this is all post Rohit Sharma. As I'm saying, this is all Rohit Sharma who will serve as captain. For T20s, it's going to be Hardik. I think that goes without saying. But for ODIs and Test cricket, it'll continue to be Rohit Sharma. After Rohit Sharma, what Gigi is thinking is what matters, because with 2025, the Champions Trophies, and could come the end of Rohit's Test career as well. Test career as a captain, which could lead to someone else taking over. Whether he'll call it a time on his ODI career as well. He's 38 now. We're still uncertain about that. But I'm talking everything after Rohit and Gambhir's duo perspective. I feel after Rohit in ODIs, it's going to be either Iyer or Rahul. It's subject to who performs well. And after that, it comes on to the T20Is. And when it comes onto the T20Is, it's going to be Hardik. With regard to Test cricket, it's got to be Rishabh Pant, hasn't it? After Rohit Sharma, I think Rishabh Pant has got to be him, because he's behind the stumps. He's got a direct angle of what's happening. He has a very, very shrewd sense of game awareness. And what I like about Pant is that he's the kind of guy who's constantly motivating the team. Whether it's by chirping and creating a lot of ruckus on social media, or whether it is just his behind the stumps, ye ball marega, and it goes on to happen. So I really feel Rishabh Pant has got a good sense or two about the game, and I really feel he can take over as captain after Rohit Sharma's era. But nevertheless, I'm going to throw in a wildcard name for all the three formats, probably the two formats now. Jasprit Bumrah. I think Jasprit Bumrah is going through his best phase, and I think he's going to go through this phase for the rest of his career. But the greatest Indian bowler that you will ever see, probably the greatest fast bowler in the next few years as well. But I really do feel that Jasprit Bumrah could be a potential captaincy option. And I say this because there's something about that man. He reads the game so well. He absorbs the pressure. He's able to deliver those last overs that he has bowled. He's bowled more number of deliveries than the number of runs that he has conceded, and he's conceded lesser number of boundaries than the number of wickets that he's picked up on an average. So that speaks volumes of the man. So I really feel Jasprit Bumrah is a potential name to throw out there who can be a captaincy candidate. But nevertheless, the fast bowler taking over as captain has always been something that the Indian management, for some reason, has had a stigma against. But this is what I felt would be an optimal choice. Who would be an optimal choice as captain post the Rohit Sharma era? But again, I think we're not ready for that era as of yet. But this is what I feel Gautam Gambhir would bring onto the table along with Captain Rohit Sharma, and just a little more on Dravid. I just can't stop talking about him. It's the farewell for him, isn't it? It's not the farewell, because he was robbed of a World Cup in 2003 versus Australia, courtesy of brilliant innings from Gilly, no doubt. 2007 was a harsh year for Indian cricket, but yes, we won the T20 World Cup, and then here we are 17 years later. But again, Rahul Dravid loses the World Cup, retires before the 2011 World Cup, knowing that he's not in contention, and then he comes back here to win the World Cup. I mean, this life has come a full circle for someone like Rahul Dravid, for someone of his magnitude of calmness, for his magnitude of understanding the game, for his magnitude of contribution to the Indian cricket society has been immense. It's unparalleled. I rate Dravid at a level higher than any Indian legend, nothing else, but because more often than not, he's decided to leave the limelight. He's always been that guy who's been overshadowed by one of probably the all-time greats, along barring Dravid, of course, Sachin Tendulkar. But he really doesn't mind that. He really doesn't mind taking the backseat. Born in the wrong era, but I guess he's now made up for all those regrets that he slept with throughout his career. He's won the World Cup, and it's a well-deserved farewell. Anyways, thank you once again for tuning into this episode of Crickstatic, a cricketing podcast for the fans. I'm the show host who brings you the most, Tasmai Krishnan. Please do follow Crickstatic's Instagram handle, crick_static on Instagram. And at the same time, please do visit my sponsors, Website www.wanamai.in. They're the world's first exclusive 360 degrees buyers only requirement listing portal. Whether you want a doorstep or whether you want them to be at your doorstep, they have everything covers. They're a B2C product. So please do check them out for anything and everything real estate. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in.